When I was younger, I used to watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, a lot of YouTube. And one day I came across FGTV's Bendy and the Ink Machine video. You know, that very first one that they posted. Ah, the nostalgia. And as soon as I watched it with my little brother, we both absolutely fell in love with Bendy. Watching theory video after theory video, me and my brother would always speculate what would happen in the next Bendy chapter. Me and my brother have literally seen every single Super Horror Bro Bendy video he had made at the time. Definitely like more than once. And eventually we bought the full game on our PS4. I have played Bendy and the Ink Machine too many times to count. Back in February of about 2 years ago, I went back and got the Platinum Trophy, which was so fun, but I love that I have the Platinum. And I'm actually currently trying to get the Dark Revival Platinum, which is proving to be difficult. But I'm here today to talk about why I love Bendy and the Ink Machine so much, as I see it get a lot of hate for really specific reasons that I can kind of understand, but it still hurts my soul to see. Later on, I will break down Bendy and the Dark Revival in a video, a while from now. These videos take way too long. So grab some lemonade, and first, let's talk about what started it all, Bendy and the Ink Machine. When I talk about Bendy and the Ink Machine, I will go over each of the chapters and talk about things I liked in them, starting with the original, Chapter 1, Moving Pictures.
All right, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
The chapter starts with us getting a letter from our old animation partner, Joey Drew, telling us, Henry Stein, to go back to the old studio and look at something Joey wants to show you. This is already a great opening that provides a lot of questions and hooks you in pretty fast. Anyway, this is a great first chapter that establishes the game's biggest strength, the art style, and environment, starting with an incredible set piece, the Ink Machine itself. It's beautiful. This scene is so amazing. With the soundtrack to complement it, the scene just stands out as a work of art for me. In this chapter, you're basically finding 6 items to turn on the Ink Machine: a plushie, a gear, a wrench, some ink, Joey Drew's book, and a record. After we find these pieces, we place them each on pedestals, then we turn on the Ink Machine. After getting jump scared, we run out of there with ink pouring through everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Just as we are about to reach the door to the outside, the floor gives out and we plummet to the depths of the studio. While in there, we maneuver through the ink and drain the bits of ink until we find an X, where we press on to find coffins and a satanic ritual, where we see visions and pass out. This is a great start. While short, it does a good job of hooking you into the story, and they make you want to explore the studio and uncover the mysteries of Joey Drew. After watching Chapter 1 as a little kid, I was hooked.
Oh, my head. What happened?
Next up is Chapter 2, The Old Song. We wake up after passing out, grab our axe, and press forward. This chapter is so cool and is one of the best environments in the game. This chapter starts us off behind a locked door that we need to find 3 switches for. Along the way, we see someone made out of ink walking through a hallway and disappear. We'll talk about him later. But seeing him provides some intrigue. Why was he made out of ink? Anyway, we continue pulling the 3 switches until we open the door to the music department. We try to go to an exit, but it's blocked off by ink, so now we have to try and drain it. After turning on the lights, we are introduced to the first enemy of the game, the Searchers. Which brings me to my first complaint that I see often, the combat. Personally, I don't really mind the combat. Sure, it's not all that in depth, but it works. The thing I see people saying is that it's just standing there and spamming the attack button, which I can honestly agree with, but people let that determine their opinion on the entire game. I personally just look past the combat, as I'm here for the environment and the story, and the combat isn't a main priority of mine. Like, I'm not here for a fighting game. But I can understand why it is a problem for some people. Anyway, after killing the searchers, we continue around the music department, solving some really cool puzzles with musical instruments and getting a valve from an old employee, killing some enemies afterwards, listening to audio logs until we open up Sammy Lawrence's office, where we turn off the ink flow to the stairwell, but just as we are about to leave...
Rest your head. It's time for bed.
We are kidnapped by Sammy. This is where the game really gets going. He goes on about how he worships the ink demon and how he will sacrifice us to him. He also said we look familiar to him. For some backstory, Henry and Joey Drew started Joey Drew Studios many years ago, where they both developed the Bendy cartoons you see. After time, Joey's greed began to take a toll on Henry, making him work longer hours, and him getting to see his wife and kid less and less. So eventually, Henry left the company, so it's likely that Henry probably knew Sammy, as Sammy was the composer for the cartoons. I mean, they had to have known each other, right? Anyway, back to current events. Fun fact, I can quote this entire speech because, I'm a nerd. Anyways, as he walks into the other room, he begins to beckon the ink demon, telling him to come and claim us, but suddenly...
No, my lord! Stay back! I am your prophet! I am your...
The ink demon just kills Sammy. Right? Yeah, then and there, giving us a chance to escape. We grab Sammy's axe and start cutting down the searchers. After all that's over, we traverse into the ink, but our axe suddenly breaks. As we run away, we try and navigate an inky maze until finally we get up to a door, shut it, and lock it behind us, escaping the ink demon. This is like such a cool like first introduction basically to the ink demon. I know we kind of see him in chapter 1, but the first like chase of the game, it's just so cool. Now we move on around this room. Wait, is that?
Hello? Someone there? I know you're in here. Come out and show yourself. Boris?
This chapter was great. Again, kind of short, but a major step up from chapter 1. Not to say that chapter 1 was bad, but it improves on basically everything. It introduces new characters, it introduces the combat, most importantly, and newer, nicer puzzles. Up next is Chapter 3, Rise and Fall. I don't love this chapter. I mean, it's good, but it's really irritating. I might just be saying that because this chapter was annoying while I was grinding for the platinum. We start in Boris the Wolf's home, which is one of the first safe places in the game. It kind of reminds me of Wilson's mansion in Bendy the Dark Revival, but that's a topic for my Bendy the Dark Revival video, which is coming soon. I'm working on it. It'll be here in a year. We have to make Boris soup to bribe him to get the lever to the door outside. After cooking up a sick meal of bacon soup, absolutely delicious, we give it to Boris, and in turn, he gives the lever. So now we go through all this machinery with Boris close behind us, then we continue into Heavenly Toys.
Wow. I don't remember any of this.
The music when you first enter Heavenly Toys is just perfect, and on that note, I need to talk about the soundtrack. Because oh my god, is it perfect. Every piece of masterful music in this game, it perfectly suits what it's for, if that makes any sense. Like, this Heavenly Toys track, it's a happy but forgetful tune that provides intrigue. The music in this game is a masterpiece, and I love it so much. Do some puzzles in the toy factory, meet Jacksepticeye. Oh my goodness, it's Jacksepticeye. Then we go into a room with some glass on the other end. This is weird. Then the lights go out. Alice Angel is a super cool villain with a really cool design, and she was a great addition to the character roster. Fun fact, in this game, there's a point in Heavenly Toys where there's an ink blob. If you change it to the ink machine and don't die the entire chapter, you are rewarded at the end of the chapter with a fucking machine gun. That was a really fun trophy to get. I just loved using it. Anyway, this chapter consists of fetch quests. Yippee. That's one of the main reasons I don't love this chapter all that much. It's just 4 or 5 kind of tedious fetch quests. Alice needs things to make her beautiful again, pretty much, to like fix her face and all, just basically just fix herself, make her quote unquote beautiful again. Anyway, we do fetch quest after fetch quest, grabbing things like thick ink, gears, destroying Bendy cutouts, fighting enemies, and dealing with a new mechanic, the Ink Demon. At random points, or if you're standing still for too long, the Ink Demon will come out. And when that happens, you have to hide in one of these miracle stations to hide from him. This started off a really cool and good lingering threat, and I love it. It is so awesome. The final fetch quest is where things get interesting. It's at this point, if you followed the steps, you would get the Tommy gun, but if you didn't, Alice just trolls you. The final quest is to get 5 inky hearts at the very bottom of the studio, where the projectionist lies. Before I played Bendy the Dark Revival, the projectionist was my favorite, like, Bendy character. His design, his backstory, the person, like, possessing him, he was just really cool. Now my favorite character is Audrey from Dark Revival, because it's Audrey from Dark Revival. Anyway, this part with the projectionist is an absolute highlight of this chapter, or at least it would be, if I could fucking see anything in the ink maze. Like, seriously, when I was trophy hunting after I killed the projectionist with the Tommy gun, and it took me like 20 minutes to finally get all the hearts. After completing all the quests, Alice instructs you to go to the elevator so she can send you to the surface and finally leave this place. Well, guess what? There's 5 chapters of this game, and what chapter is this? Oh, right. 3. She starts monologuing about heaven and a few other things until she drops the elevator completely, saying how our Boris is the most perfect one she's ever seen in the studio, and she needs him to become beautiful again. The chapter ends with Boris being dragged off by Alice. Overall, it was just an alright chapter. Like, I love it, right? But there are parts of it that I don't love, whereas every other Bendy chapter, I love every part of it, you know? And it could have been better, and it's still great. Soundtrack was on point in this chapter, and as much as I didn't like the tedious backtracking to all the different levels, I still loved the environment and the set pieces. Like, I didn't mind it at the same time. Like, I didn't like the backtracking. The Ink Demon mechanic was new and really added a much-needed tension to things. Up next is my favorite chapter in the game, Chapter 4, Colossal Wonders.
All right, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
Now, this chapter was absolutely amazing. The environment, the story, just about everything in Chapter 4 is just Bendy the Ink Machine at its finest. This chapter begins with Henry waking up after the elevator crash because somehow he survived it. We continue on into one of the scariest rooms in the game, where we find a terrifying audio log. This shit scared me a lot as a kid. I think it was just the room itself that was just so eerie, but this is just so cool. Like, after finding a valve to open up the door to the archives, we open the door to one of the coolest set pieces in Chapter 4. Going through here, we listen to an audio log and solve a cool puzzle where we slide in the books that are sticking out. Then we get our first ink vision. Continuing on, we end up in an underground area where we are introduced to a more general mechanic, crafting. If we find thick ink, we can use these machines that have 4 different things they can craft, ranging from weapons to coffee cups. This mechanic is great, and it gives the player a new thing that they can rely on in this cartoon world. Once we learn how to craft using the thick ink from the searcher, I think they're searchers, I don't know what they're called. Fix the lift and it takes us to the other side. As we walk through this hallway, we have another inky vision. But we do get to see the ink machine for a split second descending, and that will also be important later. As we enter this room, we meet an old friend. We learn that Alice has Boris and will kill him if we don't save him in time, which is the main goal of this chapter, to save Boris. Entering this room, we see a lost one crying, asking when he gets to go home, which is truly a sad sight to see as it adds to the sadness of the studio. Continuing on, we enter one of the saddest and coolest rooms in the game. This room is so cool, seeing where these tortured souls have been hiding out and living, and looking just so sad. They don't attack you, they just kind of look at you with sadness in their eyes. With the music to complement it, this room really nails the sad feeling it goes for. Going into the vent, there's a little section where we see some more lost ones living in sadness, and even the Ink Demon himself. Moving forward up the stairs through this living room, we see Joey Drew and Bertram Piedmont's magnum opus, Bendy Land. This little bit is so cool. Looking at the model and all the art on the walls while listening to Bertram's audio log, definitely a highlight of the chapter for me. I spent a good 20 minutes in here just admiring all the art on the walls and how interesting they are. Anyway, we continue on to the main hub of the area, the warehouse. Another incredible set piece, which this chapter is absolutely packed with. In here, we learn we need to get into the haunted house, but there's a twist. There are 4 levers we need to power on to get in, each requiring a different challenge. Some consist of carnival games, and others whole boss fights. The first lever is easy. Play both of these carnival games. The ball throwing one is weird because half the time the ball just decides to not throw, but it's not too bad. Then there's the fucking shooting game. Now, normally this game isn't too hard, but there's a stupid achievement where you need to get a perfect score, meaning you have to hit every single correct target, not miss once, and not hit a single X target. It was in the morning, so I stumbled out of my room, got my achievement checklist, made myself some coffee, and started going for it. I did it eventually, but it took me an hour of just sitting there and memorizing where they were. Not very fun, no. But the first lever isn't too hard normally, as you just have to get good scores to progress. The second room is the research and design room, where the Butcher Gang lies. This section is cool because it's the first and last stealth section, where you throw empty bacon soup cans to make noise that they follow, eventually make it into a small room, pull the lever, and leave. The third one. Oh, the third one. Entering the room, upon first glance, is very interesting. There's a super cool broken down carnival ride in this massive room, and there's an audio log, but I'll let you listen to it.
The biggest park ever built. A centerfold of attractions. Each one more grand than the one before it. It makes my eyes come to tears at the thought. But then, oh, Mr. Drew, for all your talk of dreams, you are the true architect behind so many nightmares. I built this park. It was to be a masterpiece, my masterpiece. And now you think you can just throw me out? Trample me to the dust and forget me? No! This is my park, my glory. You may think I fall, but I'm still here.
Bertram is alive and never left. This boss fight is actually amazing. For me, the build-up is the best part. Bertram starting off calm in the audio log, but he slowly grows angrier as the music rises, and the carnival machine just slowly comes to life, and Bertram reveals himself. The boss fight itself isn't too hard. You just wait for one of the arms on the carousel to stop moving, and then you break off the hinges. Breaking off an arm causes Bertram to go ballistic and start swinging all over the place. There's actually a little Easter egg you can do in this boss fight where when one of his arms is down, you can actually interact with the cart and ride on it, and you get an achievement for it. Once all of his arms are off, Bertram gives one final cry of defeat, and the carousel doors close. Wow. And this chapter doesn't even peak here. Like, Bendy and the Ink Machine, guys. The fourth and final lever is located in a room with this big train in the middle, until we realize who's in it. In this area, we have to stealthily find a way to get upstairs, navigating around boxes in a big train. Once we get upstairs and pull the lever, the projectionist seemingly disappears. As we leave, feeling great, this happens. Bendy decapitates the projectionist and disappears. This was so shocking and brutal for Bendy the Ink Machine, and it serves as one last goodbye to our fan favorite character. And it just goes to show how much of a threat Bendy is, being able to kill a major antagonist almost instantly with like no harm done to him. It adds a level of fear to him that we didn't have before. Anyway, we make our way to the haunted house and pull the final lever and finally save Boris. The doors to the haunted house open up to us finally. We enter the ride and Alice begins to speak to us. All seems well until...
Boris! No, no, what has she done to you?
Meet the new and improved Boris!
Boris is gone. Alice lured us here with the lie that Boris was still alive, only to find out that he's been transformed into Brute Boris. I think this is a great twist, and it really throws you off, as literally seconds after this plot twist, you are literally and figuratively thrown straight into a boss fight with Boris. This boss fight is my favorite of the bunch, mostly because it's the most challenging. This game throws you a major curveball and throws in a bunch of new mechanics almost immediately fed to you that you have no idea what you are doing, with no choice but to try and adapt to these new mechanics. Brute Boris spewing ink after charging at you, which you can then use to craft weapons. Boris being able to jump out at you and even throw carts at you. The game doesn't really hold your hand in this section, and it's really fun to adapt to the boss fight as you craft weapons and continue to fight. After the third phase, once you hit Boris one final time, he dies. A goodbye to a friend.
Why can't you ever just die?
Alice charges out enraged until... The ending of this chapter is actually perfect to me. We see a major protagonist die in front of our very eyes, only to be shocked by the villain being killed by... the villain? It's just really, really great. And chapter 4 will always be my favorite chapter. And now we move on to the final chapter of the game, the most controversial chapter, chapter 5, The Last Reel. So, just for some context, if I sound any different, it's because I'm actually recording this 6 months after I recorded those other lines. Yeah, it's been a while. I got really discouraged from making this video. Not for any reason, just the editing is a lot of work. But anyway, let's continue, as I really enjoy doing this, and I'm gonna stop being lazy. So, anyway. Chapter 5 is an interesting one. When this chapter released, people were really upset about it, saying it's lazy, boring, and just a bad chapter. It was really controversial upon release. I just really don't agree with that. This chapter is the most story-driven one, with so many actual cutscenes and more dialogue than any chapter before it. As someone who loves Bendy for the story just as much, if not more, than the game itself, I was happy with this. I thought having an abundance of cutscenes really made it better for me. I also just enjoyed the chapter as a whole. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I love it. We wake up at some sort of cell to singing. As we awake, we see the good Alice singing while writing on the wall. She tells us to get some rest. There are a few bits in between where we wake up and go back to sleep, but they aren't super important, just kind of them talking to each other. Other than to know that sometimes they leave for supplies. After we wake up again, we actually get to talk to Alice. She gives some backstory on the dark puddles, how the ink works. Then she begins to explain the seeing tool. It's a piece of glass that reveals hidden messages on the walls throughout the studio. Then she hands it to us, and we get to try. Then we go back to sleep again. We wake up abruptly to the room shaking. Good Boris and Alice seem to be panicking. The ink demon has arrived. Alice attempts to set us free, but Boris stops her, and they leave us to die. Quickly, Henry has to think up something. He pulls out the seeing tool to reveal clues on how to escape. It leads us to the toilet, where the gen pipe is inside. We break our way out of there and continue forward, fighting some enemies along the way. Alice and Boris seem to have set up a base in the far depths of the studio. As we escape and fight some searchers, we search the Ink River. The Ink River is actually really fun. I really enjoy it. It does receive some hate, which I can kind of understand. I still enjoy it for what it is, as I think it's something new. It was a new gameplay mechanic, and I thought it was fun. I thought it gave some much needed tension that Bendy needed. Bendy needed some more horror at this point in the game. As we enter the boat and begin to traverse through the Inky River, we are greeted with the Hand. This part is actually really stressful, as I said before. It consists of you driving the boat forward, but occasionally the paddle wheel will get stuck as ink clogs it. You are then required to go to the paddle wheel and put the— Oh my god, I messed up again! You are then required to go to the paddle wheel and hit the bits of ink before the hand gets to you. And trust me when I say, the slightest mistake, like just missing the button, will result in you being pulled into the ink by the hand. Okay, that's my last time making that joke. Anyway, after we make it out of the inky tunnel, we are shown a village of some sorts, even with a lost one doing some fishing. We learn that this is a town built by the lost ones, to try and live in somewhat peace away from the ink demon. As we dock the boat and we get to look around the town built by the lost ones, it seems completely abandoned. Upon trying to break the boards to continue forward, this happens.
Abandoned. I trusted you. I gave you everything. And you left me to rot.
This cutscene was insane for the Bendy fandom, especially all the Sammy fans. Just seeing him come back to life, it also added a lot to the lore, especially the things he says, saying he was betrayed and abandoned. Also saying how we lied and that he gave us everything. All this is basically up for speculation when it comes to the story, but we have a pretty good idea of what it is. So basically, Sammy is saying these things because he worshipped the ink demon. He believed that he could turn him back into a human, so he constantly offered sacrifices to him, putting up the cutouts everywhere, the altars and things like that. But as we saw in chapter 2, the ink demon killed Sammy, or so we thought, I guess. We don't know exactly how he came back, but I saw a theory online a little while ago that actually made a lot of sense. The theory was that Sammy took a striker's heart to repair himself, which would make a lot of sense considering that his voice does sound different in chapter 5. Anyway, we have sort of a boss fight with Sammy until finally—
No, don't look at me. Stay away. You lied to me. You said I'd be free. Well, I'm going to free you now. Free your head right off your shoulders. Sheep, sheep, sheep. It's time for sleep.
That was close. You're lucky we were in the neighborhood.
Was that him?
I don't think so. The Searchers and the Lost Ones built this place. Sammy must have been keeping them at bay, now that he's gone. Looks like we're in for a fight. Get ready. Watch out! Here they come!
We get saved by good Alice and Boris, but Sammy was apparently keeping the Lost Ones at bay, which is why the town seems so abandoned. Then the real fight begins. Now, a lot of people have complaints about this section, saying that it was just there to fill time and it was just spamming enemies, but I just don't mind it. Once again, I see and understand people's complaints with it. I get what they say, but I think this part is cool. I mean, I really enjoyed the combat in this game, so I really didn't have a problem with it. Overall, it was just fun. Once we defeat all the Lost Ones, we press on with Boris and Alice at our sides, until— Never mind. Now we are in administration, the offices. After pulling a lever, attempting to progress, we are greeted with a puzzle, as in typical Bendy fashion. We need to navigate administration to find 3 thick ink stations to create 3 different pipes, so we can drain the ink blocking the path to the vault. The catch? 3 Butcher Gang creatures are roaming administration, so you have to be constantly hiding in the offices to make sure you aren't detected, because you don't have a weapon. In administration, you find the office of the man himself, Joey drew. In there we find some lore-related things. We get to see the items from Chapter 1 in his drawers, so that's super cool. This section is super tense, and honestly, I've always really enjoyed it. They took a lot of creative liberty here and went for something completely new, where you are thrown into a situation with no weapons, and I really love it. After draining the pipes, we meet back with Boris and Alice. Continuing forward, we come face to face with the Ink Demon again, wandering the halls of the studio. Then we find Henry's desk? Now, take a second to remember. Do you remember at hidden and brief moments throughout the entire game, we see the ink machine descending, and now we find where it's been heading. All this time. The ink machine has now transformed into the home of the ink demon. Alice unfortunately admits that they cannot cross to the ink machine, as the ink around them will consume them. So we have to go in alone. Now, this section of Chapter 5 is what makes it or breaks it for people. This boss fight is what leads people to start calling the game lazy and poorly made. This is about the only time that I will agree with them. While I am happy with the ending of the game, unlike most people, I think the boss fight is alright, but I can't help but be disappointed. There was so much buildup to this massive encounter with the ink demon, only for it to literally be running around and pulling levers. It's like Kashimo versus Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm saying this as a massive Kashimo fan, by the way. Throughout the Calling games, Kashimo was hyped up like crazy, especially in the massive battle against Hikari, only for him to get one shot by Sukuna. But anyway, that's kind of how I feel about this final segment of Bendy the Ink Machine. I somewhat like it for the lore it provides, but it's a disappointing final encounter. As I said before, we enter the Ink Machine, Bendy transforms while Joey gives a final speech, and we are thrown into the disappointing final section. Now, one thing I'll give this part is the actual design of the area. Bendy's throne is actually really cool design-wise, and I love the TVs playing all the cartoons in the throne room. And at least when you're running around pulling levers, everything around you is kinda cool to look at. The other problem I had with this part is the respawn mechanic. Now, I know throughout Bendy, the respawn mechanic has never been perfect, but what is frustrating about this final section specifically, if you die, literally nothing happens. The boss fight just resumes. Same progress as before. There is quite literally zero punishment for failing. You just get thrown back in. It's irritating because this is literally supposed to be the final boss of the game, guys. At the very least, you could at least restart your progress. But no, and it's frustrating. But anyway, the second room after the levers, we have to lure Bendy to charge at us to break these pillars flowing with ink. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. This mini part does have more exciting gameplay than the lever room. It still isn't great, but it was still something. After we get the 4 pillars broken, we can finally end this and show the ink demon the end. Now, here is where the controversial ending comes into play. Personally, I absolutely love this shift into the real world. It was so unexpected and so cool. After playing through an entire game in the animation realm, but someone awaits us at the end of the apartment.
Henry, so soon. I didn't expect you for another hour yet. Now you're just trying to impress me. But I know. You have questions. You always do. The only important question is this. Who are we, Henry? I thought I knew who I was. But the success starved me. Nothing left but lines on a page. In the end, we followed 2 different roads of our own making. You, a lovely family. Me, a crooked empire. And my road burned. I let our creations become my life. The truth is, you were always so good at pushing, old friend. Pushing me to do the right thing. You should have pushed a little harder. Henry, Come visit the old workshop. There's something I need to show you.
All right, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
This is why people didn't like the ending of Bendy and the Ink Machine. The common thing among people who dislike the ending is that they thought the Meatly took the easy, lazy way out by just making the ending reveal that we are stuck in a loop. And yes, while that may be true, I don't mind the ending. I don't think it did anything bad to negatively affect the story. Could it have been a better and more thought out ending? Yes. Do I hate it for what it is? No. And they even learned from their mistakes and expanded greatly on the loop in Bendy and the Dark Revival. But that's a topic for the sequel to this video. I enjoy the ending for what it was, and I genuinely think we could have got something worse, so I'm happy with what we ended up with. I absolutely adore everything about Bendy the Ink Machine. I know that Bendy is still going. I mean, we just got announcements for like 3 other Bendy games and a movie. But to be honest, I don't think anything that they release from now on will beat the original or Dark Revival, because Dark Revival is one of the best games I've ever played. I will be a Bendy fan till the day I die, no matter how cringe people say it is, no matter what the fandom does. I will always love it, and I don't care what people say. And I am so excited for the next Bendy games. I'm sure I'll do videos on them when they release. Absolutely will. And definitely stay tuned for the Dark Revival video, because I have a lot planned for that, and I have a lot to say about Dark Revival. I love it so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my first video ever. I have a lot planned and many videos to come, so stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because I'll be making a lot more like it. And maybe turn on notifications so you can know when I do eventually upload. This video took a very long time to make. Anyways, bye-bye.